Chapter 41. 41. Sudden Rebellion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 41. Sudden Rebellion. Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. Shenqinghe glanced at the two people with some doubts but didn't think too much about it. She went forward and introduced her to Gu Jinsi with a smile. Jinsi, you haven't met her, right? This is Miao Miao, and she's also your second sister. Law. After saying that, she looked at Gu Jinsi and gestured for him to greet Lu Miao quickly. Gu Jinsi's lips twitched involuntarily. Lu Miao was about the same age as him. She was only a month or two older than him. It was too embarrassing for him to call her second sister. Law. Seeing this, Shenqinghe slapped the back of his head angrily. Greet her. Gu Jinsi struggled for a long time and tried his best to overcome his embarrassment. He braced himself and called out softly, second sister. Law. Cough, cough, cough. Lu Miao almost choked on the food in her mouth. She thought that Gu Jinsi would at most call her by her name to greet her. She did not expect that this fellow. Shenqinghe quickly stepped forward and patted her on the back. Miao Miao, are you all right? This is the first time Jinsi has seen you, so he's a little shy. Thank you, Auntie Shen. I'm fine. Lu Miao coughed and waved her hand. Shenqinghe was quite satisfied with how tactful Gu Jinsi was. If her son was like Gu Xingyu, confused about right and wrong, she would really die of anger. Gu Xingyu was furious. She widened her eyes and glared at Gu Jinsi, trying her best to question him with her eyes. Why did this bastard suddenly betray her and call her second sister? Law after just a nap? Wasn't this equivalent to acknowledging her status in their family? She would never allow it. Jinsi simply ignored her and grabbed a tissue from a nearby table, throwing it in front of Lu Miao. He grumbled, how could you choke on your food? You're so clumsy. Gu Xingyu was so angry that she stretched out her leg and kicked him under the table. She gritted her teeth and squeezed out a few words. Gu Jinsi, what are you doing? She had been with Gu Jinsi since they were in their mother's womb. How could she not understand this guy? He was just being stubborn and pretending to be disgusted, but he didn't really mean it. Damn it, what's wrong with this guy? Why was he being so attentive to Lu Miao and giving her tissues? It's none of your business, Jinsi said irritably. Alright, you two, stop arguing, Shenqinghe interjected and looked at Gu Jinsi. Since you're back, rest at home for a few days. When you're feeling better, I'll get your second brother to arrange for someone to take you back, Shenqinghe said. Upon hearing this, a sense of inexplicable anger rose uncontrollably within him. With loud bang, he smashed the chopsticks onto the table. All you ever do is keep me locked up. I'm a human being, your son, not an animal that needs to be caged up every day. I don't think She wasn't worried about his safety, she was just worried that he would embarrass the Gu family in the country. Before he could finish his words, Lu Miao raised her eyes and glanced at him. Her fingertips moved slightly, and a thin white light silently drilled into his brow. Jinsi felt the rage that had been burning within him moments ago extinguished like a cool mountain spring had been poured over it. He clenched his fists tightly by her side, lowered his head, and muttered softly. I just wanted to tell you that I'm an adult now and can be responsible for my own actions. I don't want to be locked up like an animal and looked down upon. Shenqinghe was shocked when she heard this. She rubbed her chin and sized him up a few times before asking suspiciously. Is there really nothing wrong with your brain? Jinsi's usual behavior upon returning home was to make a scene and argue loudly. In such situations, it was normal for him to curse at his mother, throw a chair, and storm out. She had long since grown accustomed to this. However, this time he suddenly became calm, which was strange. She was worried that something was wrong with him. Gu Jinsi was speechless. He said angrily, "No, I don't want to go overseas anymore. I want to stay in the country. Seeing his rebellious behavior, Shen Qinghe breathed a sigh of relief and playfully hit him on the head. If you don't want to go, then don't go. Why are you shouting? Can't you see Miao Miao is here? If you scare her away, I'll break your legs. Gu Xingyu rolled her eyes beside them, wondering what Lu Miao had done to her mother to make Shen Qinghe treat her like a delicate flower. With the way she kicked over a strong thief, who could scare her? Gu Jinsi was stunned. He looked at Shen Qinghe in disbelief. You promised me to stay in the country. Shen Qinghe nodded. I agree. Gu Jinsi did not expect Shen Qinghe to agree to his stay so easily. In the past, Jinsi had also run away numerous times in protest, but each time he was forcibly brought back by his second brother under Shen Qinghe's firm demands. None of his attempts had been successful, and he thought that Shen Qinghe would never let him return to the country. He jumped up excitedly and hugged Shen Qinghe tightly. That's great. Ha ha ha, I can stay. Realizing what he had just done, he sat back down, feeling a bit embarrassed. Don't get too excited yet. I agreed for you to come back under certain conditions, Shen Qinghe said. Jinsi looked at her and asked, what conditions? You have to study hard and not fight with others. You can play car racing, but only in your spare time and in a safe place. You must always prioritize your safety. If you still behave like before, I'll lock you up, Shen Qinghe replied. Jinsi was surprised and happy that he was allowed to stay and play car racing. He nodded, okay. Watching him smile so openly and happily, Shen Qinghe couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. Jinsi had been rebellious since he was young, and he was never as close to them as Gu Xingyu and the others. After he started car racing, their relationship had become even worse due to her strong opposition. Every time he looked at them, it would not be an exaggeration to say that they were his enemies. She couldn't even count how long it had been since he had called her mother or had a good meal with them. Although she did not know why he had suddenly changed so much this time, he was right. He was a human, and she could not keep him locked up like this. If this continued, he would only be pushed further and further away. After breakfast, Lu Miao greeted them and went upstairs to get her bag for school. Seeing that Shen Qinghe had also gotten up and gone to the kitchen, Gu Xingyu immediately stood up and rushed over to grab Gu Jinsi's collar, questioning him angrily. Gu Jinsi, are you crazy? He called her second sister. Law. Have you forgotten what I told you last night? Lu Miao was a greedy, sinister, and cunning person. She doesn't deserve to be our second sister. Law. Chapter 42. 42, Exposed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 42. Exposed. Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. Gu Jinsi impatiently pulled her hand away. I think you're the sinister and cunning one here. You're the one who's always badmouthing people behind their backs. Gu Xingyu was taken aback. I'm telling the truth. Wake up. Don't be fooled by her fake innocent appearance. Gu Xingyu, something must be wrong with your eyes. If you're feeling unwell, go see a doctor. Gu Jinsi sneered at her and turned to go upstairs. Gu Jinsi, who exactly is your biological sister? You're a traitor who betrayed the organization. Gu Xingyu stomped her feet in anger. I don't have a foolish sister like you, Gu Jinsi retorted mercilessly. When Lu Miao arrived at school, Shen Muhan had already spread the news that Lu Miao had donated 2 million yuan to the Welfare Institute and her class scholarship fund. Everyone in Year 3 Class 1 was over the moon with excitement. They pledged not to let down their boss's painstaking efforts and worked hard to learn. Someone even posted about it on the school forum, and soon the news spread throughout the entire school. The students from other classes were envious, and the forum was abuzz with discussions. All of them pounded their chests and stomped their feet in anguish. Who is a god-like classmate from other classes referring to? Lu Miao, of course. She was rich, handsome, and talented. Her martial strength was extremely high. Why wasn't such a big-shot student in their class? There were even many students who came to ask if they could apply to join Year 3 Class 1. As the class monitor, Su Mo rejected them coldly. This is an apt demonstration of the phrase, yesterday, you looked down on us, but today, you can't reach us. At noon, the school announced the Triwizard Tournament next month on the bulletin board. Below it was a list of the students who would be representing the school in the competition. Lu Siyu's name was shockingly on the list of Year 1 students. The school was abuzz with talk about the Triwizard Tournament. After all, as the school's current famous super genius, she should definitely be involved in the battle to win glory for the school. Moreover, the person who won, in the end, could obtain the qualification to enter Tsinghua University. ENVE, it was such a good opportunity. Anyone with the ability would want to participate. For a while, the school was full of discussion, and the forum was even more of a battleground. Is Lu Miao being arrogant? Don't they know about the grudges between our school and the other two schools? Before, the school made such a big fuss to promote her, and when it was time to shine, she took the stage, but now that the school needs her, she's hiding. She's ungrateful and treacherous. I don't believe she's being arrogant. She probably has her own reasons for not participating. This morning, she donated 10 million yuan to the Welfare Institute and 2 million yuan to their class funds for scholarships. With such good character, I don't think she's arrogant. Humph, she's not using her own money to donate, she's just showing off with her family's money and trying to establish her image. It's disgusting. How do you know it's not her own money? Besides, she's already done good deeds without leaving her name behind, and she bravely caught a thief. Just for that, I believe in her. She's just a poor country bumpkin. How can she have that much money? Maybe she staged the whole thing with the thief just to become famous. And as for her genius-level formulas, I think they're all made up. After all, the Gu family has money and influence, so it's easy to fake things with a little bit of money. Exactly, it's all a fake. Maybe she's afraid of being caught cheating during the competition and having her poor results exposed. Shen Muhan looked at the discussion on the school forum and cursed, *T, boss earned that money with her own abilities. It has nothing to do with the Gu family. The Gu family was so stingy that they didn't even give their boss a chauffeur. They let her ride a shared bicycle to and from school every day. How could they possibly give her money? If it weren't for the boss's order not to spread rumors about their racing, he would have gone out and beaten up those people who badmouth Lu Miao. I think they're just jealous of boss's excellence. Another student beside him echoed angrily. Su Mo raised her hand and touched her chin. Don't you think the person trolling sounds a little familiar? Shen Muhan laughed coldly and logged into the forum. His fingers quickly jumped on the phone screen. Lu Siyu, don't hide behind your fake account. The forum, which was in chaos just a moment ago, instantly fell silent for a second. Many people quickly calmed down, knowing that these two had been at odds for a while. One was a real heiress, and the other was a fake heiress. Lu Miao had even given Lu Siyu a resounding slap in the face during the freshman press conference. If she was the one trolling, it wouldn't be strange at all. However, to be caught red-handed while stirring things up was so embarrassing. Shen Muhan didn't have any sportsmanship. Not only did he expose her, he even directly mentioned her ID, making it impossible for her to pretend to be dead. I'm not. Stop spreading rumors and slandering Siyu here. Shen Muhan didn't care if she admitted to it or not, and he started cursing at her relentlessly. Lu Siyu, let me tell you, your jealousy won't do any good. My boss is a true genius, a heavenly being descended to earth. With an IQ of 208, outstanding talents and abilities, and unparalleled natural gifts, she's a once-in-a-millennium genius. Even if 10 of you combined your efforts, you wouldn't be able to catch up. After cursing her out, he continued to spout the flattery of Lu Miao and insults about Lu Siyu. I've already said it, I'm not Lu Xiu. I'm not. The person on the other end was completely losing it. Don't pretend you're not. I forgot, someone as despicable and scheming as you, with a heart as black as a snake and scorpion, can only sow discord and make trouble. Shen Muhan didn't hold back. Some people spoke up for Lu Xiu, but Shen Muhan was quick-witted and sharp-tongued, not letting anyone off the hook. He swore to protect his boss's reputation. He had single-handedly changed the direction of the entire school forum. From discussing why Lu Miao wasn't participating in the competition to all the students trying to track down the anonymous account, Shen Muhan had completely dominated the forum. The previous alternate account was so scared that it immediately logged out. Shen Muhan returned with a complete victory. He turned to Lu Miao and patted his chest. "Boss, don't worry. With me around, that green tea Lu Xiu can forget about spreading rumors and slandering you. But boss, are you sure you don't want to consider the Tri-Wizard tournament?" Although his boss had said before that she did not need a recommendation. However, he always felt that it was a pity to waste such a good opportunity. Lu Miao raised her eyebrows. "Your boss, I, have no ambition in Tsinghua University." "Then boss, what is your ambition?" The student beside him asked curiously. "The vast universe." This passionate answer instantly sparked a roar of excitement from all the students in the class, who shouted that they would work hard to conquer the vast universe with Lu Miao. The academic atmosphere in their senior year class had never been so high. Meanwhile, in the experimental class, Lu Xiu had red eyes from crying as she explained to her classmates that she had nothing to do with the fake account. "I don't know why they said that. That alternate account really isn't me." Gu Xingyu hurriedly comforted her by the side. "Xiu, I believe you." Then, she turned to the surrounding students and said solemnly, "I can testify that Xiu has always been kind-hearted. Not only did she not say anything bad about Lu Miao, but she has always treated her as her own sister and gave in to her in everything. That fake account was definitely not hers. Lu Miao was the one who was jealous of Xiu and even deliberately instructed people to slander her to ruin her reputation. She didn't dare to participate in the Tri-Wizard tournament because she felt guilty about her actions." "Xingyu, don't say that. Miao Miao came from the countryside and didn't receive a good education. Right now, she just wants to reclaim what belongs to her. It's my fault for letting her down. I won't hold it against her for wanting what's rightfully hers," Lu Xiu said, feeling aggrieved. She appeared to defend Lu Miao, but in reality, she hinted to everyone that Lu Miao might have lied about her education and genius status. Lu Miao was intentionally slandering her to take her belongings. Even if the students did not fully believe her, her words would still plant a seed of doubt in their hearts. As long as they had this seed of doubt, she could make everyone lose trust in Lu Miao sooner or later. Gu Xingyu comforted her for a while. When she thought about what happened this morning, she could not help but get angrier. "I'm starting to suspect that Lu Miao, that country bumpkin, might have learned some witchcraft in the countryside. It's fine if second brother and mom were bewitched by her, but so many people in school are blind to believe her. Gu Jinsi just came back yesterday. He clearly promised me yesterday that he would work with me to deal with her. This was the first time he met Lu Miao this morning. He didn't even say a word to her before that bastard betrayed him. Not only did he take the initiative to call her second sister in law to express his goodwill, but he also helped her scold me." Lu Xiu was very considerate as she said, "Jinsi might just be temporarily bewitched by her appearance. When I get back, I'll call him and ask him to meet up tomorrow. We'll have a good chat then." Gu Xingyu nodded. "Xiu, you're really too good. There must be something wrong with the eyes of those who believed in Lu Miao." Lu Xiu smiled slightly and didn't say anything else. After school in the afternoon, Lu Miao had just walked out of the school gate when the phone in her pocket rang. She took it out and saw that it was an unfamiliar number. She swiped her finger across the answer button. Excuse me, is this Lu Miao? It's me. Lu Miao replied. This is the Xinjiang District Police Station. Lu Miao raised her eyebrows slightly. After listening to the content of the call, she hung up the phone and scanned a shared bike. 10 minutes later, the bicycle stopped at the entrance of the Xinjiang District Police Station. After locking the car and entering the door, a police officer in the lobby saw Lu Miao. After asking her, he was stunned and asked in disbelief, "You're Lu Miao?" Chapter 43. 43, Godly Operation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 43. Godly Operation. Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. Lu Miao nodded. Where is he? The police officer looked at her and said hesitantly, Young Master Song is already in the office. Why don't you call his guardians? No need. I'm his guardian. Lu Miao turned around and walked straight toward the office. The police officer saw this and quickly followed behind. The Song family was a top-notch wealthy family in Luo City. What was wrong with this little girl? He had clearly reminded her that young Master Song was waiting inside to deal with this matter, and she couldn't handle it at all. Yet, she actually dared to barge in by herself. She was probably going to be in trouble today. After bringing her to the office, Lu Miao entered and saw Gu Jinsi standing by the window with a dark expression on his face. On the other side of the sofa, a young man who looked very noble sat there with a cigarette between his fingers. He should be the young Master Song that the police officer had mentioned. Beside him stood a boy with a bruised face, looking at Gu Jinsi angrily. His face was almost swollen like a pig's head, and she could not tell what he looked like. However, looking at his clothes, he should be about the same age as Gu Jinsi and the others. In addition, there was also a police officer who looked high-ranked. Seeing her enter, Gu Jinsi secretly glanced at her nervously. Then, he turned his head awkwardly and did not dare to look at her again. Lu Miao ignored everyone else and walked straight to Gu Jinsi. She sized him up and asked, "Are you injured anywhere else?" Gu Jinsi was already prepared to be scolded and questioned. It was not the first time he had gotten into a fight and caused trouble. Shen Qinghe had always been very strict with her children. In the past, every time something happened to him, his parents would scold him and ask him to apologize. At this moment, when he suddenly heard her saying this, his eyes couldn't help but turn red. He clenched his fists and said, "No." Lu Miao nodded. After confirming that he was fine, she turned to the police officer beside her. "I've already contacted a lavier. He'll be here soon. The lawyer will file a lawsuit against the young master of the Song family for injuring Jinsi." Then, the police officer, who looked high-ranked, heard this and spat out a mouthful of blood in his heart. The lower-ranked police officers did not know who Gu Jinsi was, but he knew that he was the fourth young master of the Gu family. The Gu and Song families had significant conflicts in their business dealings, and for many years, the Gu family had been firmly on top of the Song family. The Song family hated the Gu family and wanted to bite them to death. This was a well-known fact in Luo City. Now that the teenagers of the two families were fighting, young Master Song came personally. Clearly, he wanted to make a big fuss about this and did not intend to let them off. Moreover, Gu Jinsi and Song Hao fought, and it was clear to the naked eye that Song Hao was more severely injured. Not only did she not take the initiative to care about his injuries, but she also directly wanted to sue him and hold him accountable. This biased treatment was too much. It's like this, Gu Jinsi beat Song Hao in front of Zhenhai Middle School. Gu Jinsi gritted his teeth. He scolded me first. When he saw Lu Miao and remembered what Song Hao said, he hesitated for a moment and said hatefully, "He deserved it." Bullsh *T. I was just telling the truth. How was I scolding you? Your second brother, that short-lived ghost, is already dying. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been in a hurry to find someone to marry and even been schemed against by the Liu family to give them a country bumpkin that no one wanted. The two of them will die sooner or later. Song Hao was very arrogant because his big brother was around. Before he could finish his words, Gu Jinsi was like an angry lion cub. His eyes were red, and he rushed over and punched Song Hao hard. "I'll beat you to death." The police officer didn't expect that Gu Jinsi dared to lay hands on Song Hao in front of everyone, including young Master Song. There was no time to stop him. By the time he reacted, Gu Jinsi was already fighting with Song Hao. He quickly called the young police officer to come forward. The two of them took one each and forcefully pulled the two of them apart. "If you dare to curse again, I'll beat you to death." Gu Jinsi struggled and shouted. Song Hao instinctively recoiled, but when he saw Song Yunxian next to him, he straightened up and yelled, "Gu Jinsi, just you wait. If you dare to hit me, my eldest brother will send you to prison for the rest of your life." On the sofa, Song Yunxian lifted his cigarette and took a puff before looking up at Lu Miao, raising his eyebrows. The girl had delicate features, fair skin, and a flawless appearance. Despite the loose school uniform, her unbelievably long legs were still visible. Despite knowing his identity, her beautiful eyes remained calm and composed without any signs of fear. She was decisive and took the initiative as soon as she walked in. No matter how one looked at her, she was completely different from the rumored country bumpkin. "Mrs. Gu, how do you plan to deal with this?" The police officer looked at Lu Miao worriedly. Young Master Song deliberately added the words "Mrs. Gu" to make escalate this matter to involve the entire Gu family and the Song family. If Mr. Gu didn't come today, it would probably be very difficult to clean up the mess. Gu Jinsi was born into a wealthy family and had been influenced since he was young. Naturally, he could tell that Song Yunxian did not intend to let them off. "I asked you to come because I want you to help me hide it from Mom and second brother. The rest has nothing to do with you. You can leave now." Lu Miao raised her hand and pressed on his shoulder. "Leave it to me." Then, she turned to look at Song Yunxian. "You want me to handle it?" Song Yunxian raised his eyebrows. Lu Miao nodded and walked straight to Song Hao. She raised her hand and slapped him hard on the face. "Your parents, brother, and school didn't teach you how to respect others. Let me teach you." That slap just now was for scolding Mr. Gu. He was magnanimous and did not like to argue with others. One slap was enough. "I'm different. I've always been vengeful and like to return the favor, so." She raised his hand and slapped him twice. Song Hao was completely stunned. He wanted to dodge, but for some reason, his entire body seemed to be fixed on the spot. He could not move at all. Lu Miao raised her hand and slapped him again, interrupting his words. "This slap is for Jinsi. You scolded his second brother and sister. Law in front of him. He was injured because he wasn't skilled enough. I'll fight back for him." She spoke as if she was completely justified in hitting him. After a few slaps, Song Hao's face, which was already swollen like a pig's head, became even more unsightly. Song Hao cried out in pain. "Remember to respect others before you speak. If you still can't learn, feel free to come find me anytime. The things your parents and siblings didn't teach you, I don't mind taking care of for them." After Lu Miao finished speaking, she turned to look at Song Yunxian, who was sitting on the sofa. "Young Master Song, are you satisfied with the result?" The police officer beside her was about to kneel down. What the F***ck was this godly operation? Chapter 44. 44, Extremely Arrogant. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 44. Extremely Arrogant Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. Young Master Song was obviously trying to force her to apologize and force the Gu family to negotiate. He wanted to take the opportunity to suppress the Gu family. Not only did she not apologize, but she also went up and beat him up. She had insulted his younger brother in front of him and said that he deserved to be beaten up. How dare she ask if he was satisfied? Birds of a feather flock together. She was even more arrogant than Gu Jinsi when he hit his brother right in front of his face just now. This was really the F***king arrogance, cocky as hell. Gu Jinsi blinked in disbelief. Was his second sister law so wild? Not only was her racing skill awesome, but she was also so bold. She did not show any fear in front of Song Yunxian. She believed in him unconditionally and would even stand up for him. Song Yunxian's fingers, which were holding a cigarette, paused. Gu Shiyan's wife, who dared to teach his brother a lesson in front of him, seemed really unique. Song Hao could finally move now. He immediately ran back to Song Yunxian's side and covered his swollen face. He shouted angrily, "Brother, Gu Jinsi in this stinky." Just as he was about to curse, he saw Lu Miao glance at him. His heart trembled and he subconsciously took 2 steps back. "Shut up." Song Yunxian scolded directly. How could he have such a stupid younger brother? He put the cigarette into the ashtray and looked up at Lu Miao with a smirk. Song Hao was wrong to scold people. Mrs. Gu taught him a good lesson just now. Now, shall we deal with Gu Jinyao's assault case? As he spoke, he turned to look at the police officer. "Officer Zhang, I remember that intentionally causing harm to others is punishable by up to 3 years in prison, and if the case is severe and causes serious injury, it can be 3 to 10 years. Is that right?" Although he had a smile on his face, Officer Zhang was so scared that his forehead was covered in cold sweat. Young Master Song said this because he was determined to screw Gu Jinsi over. But he couldn't afford to offend either of them. Why did a mortal like him get caught in the crossfire of 2 powerful families? He raised his hand to wipe off his cold sweat and said in a trembling voice, "Yes." Song Yunxian curled his lips. "Very well, Song Yunxian, have always been a law-abiding citizen. So, I'll trouble Officer Zhang to take the suspect into custody. Later, I will take Song Hao to get a medical examination, and the rest will be left to the law." Officer Zhang trembled in fear. Song Yunxian was not someone to mess with, and neither was Mr. Gu. Moreover, Gu Qinshi was the young master of the Gu family. He couldn't just arrest him. Frantically, Officer Zhang signaled to Lu Miao with his eyes, hoping she could inform Gu Shiyan. Otherwise, Gu Jinsi would surely be arrested. Lu Miao, on the other hand, was calm and composed. "Young Master Song, your understanding of righteousness is admirable, but it seems that Gu Jinsi is the one who needs a medical examination, as his injuries seem to be more severe," she said. Song Yunxian chuckled at her confident lie. "Are you referring to that small bruise on his face?" he asked. Even he knew that his brother was useless at fighting. It was embarrassing to watch him get beaten up so easily. Gu Jinsi's injuries were nothing compared to Song Hao's. Anyone with eyes could see that. With the small injury on Gu Jinsi's face, if he went to the hospital later, he would probably have recovered. As long as they weren't blind, anyone could tell who was more seriously injured. Of course not. Lu Miao waved at Gu Jinsi. Although Gu Jinsi did not understand what she wanted to do, he still obediently walked over. Lu Miao raised her hand and pulled his arm. Jinsi's arm was broken by Song Hao. Song Yunxian smiled. "Really?" He got up and walked in front of Gu Jinsi. He reached out and grabbed Gu Jinsi's arm. Just as he grabbed him, there was a slight muffled sound coming from the joint of Gu Jinsi's arm, and his forearm was dislocated directly from his elbow joint. Song Yunxian thought to himself that he had fallen for it and quickly let go. "Ah!" Gu Jinsi immediately held his arm and screamed dramatically, "Let go of me, my arm is broken, it hurts so much." Second sister. Law, help, Song Yunxian wants to kill me. Fuck, Song Yunxian finally couldn't help but curse, and the smile on his face disappeared completely. She looked at Lu Miao with a deeper gaze. "Mrs. Gu, you're really good." Lu Miao looked at him innocently. "I don't understand what young Master Song is saying. It's a fact that Jinxi's arm is broken. You have checked and confirmed it just now. If you can't determine it, you can ask Officer Zhang to get the forensic doctor from the police station to come over and examine it. If you still insist that your brother didn't break Jinxi's arm, then I can only think that you deliberately broke Jinxi's arm just now for revenge. Young Master Song, which one do you think it is?" Song Hao could not help but say angrily, "T. It was clearly Gu Jinxi who pressed me to the ground and beat me up. I only punched him in the face. L didn't even touch his arm. Even if his arm was broken, Gu Jinxi's arm would not be broken." Lu Miao didn't retort and nodded. "Oh, so your brother broke Jinxi's arm on purpose just now for revenge?" Song Hao was shocked and quickly denied, "You're talking nonsense. My brother just grabbed his arm and checked it. How could it be broken?" "Then, that has to be you," Lu Miao said slowly. Song Hao was about to go crazy. He seemed to have fallen into Lu Miao's trap and could not explain himself no matter what. If he denied that it was him, it would automatically become his big brother who hurt him. If he had to choose between him and Song Yunxian to take the blame for hurting someone, then it could only be him. His face was red, but he didn't say anything in the end. Lu Miao was satisfied. "It's good that you admit it." Then, he turned to Officer Zhang and said, "Officer Zhang, please inform the police station doctor to come over as soon as possible for an injury evaluation." Officer Zhang, who had witnessed the entire process, was dumbfounded. What? What was going on? Didn't the young master of the Song family get beaten up and want to report Gu Jinxi? How did the plot change in the blink of an eye? And now, Gu Jinxi was beaten up and needed to be evaluated. He turned his head stiffly to look at Song Yunxian. Song Yunxian's expression darkened. He was very sure that Gu Jinxi was fine before Lu Miao came. His arm was definitely not broken. Lu Miao must have done something in the middle, but he could not produce any evidence at all. Young Master Song had never expected that after so many years in the business world, he would actually fall into the hands of a little girl from the countryside. Song Hao was indeed the one who scolded and caused trouble today, but the person who attacked first was Gu Jinxi. It was just a child's fight. Both of them were at fault. I'll take full responsibility for Jinxi's injuries. Other than that, I'll give him additional compensation. This matter ends here. Lu Miao smiled. Young Master Song is wrong. Song Hao was the one who started the fight today. Jinxi was just defending himself. Now, the Gu family is the one being scolded, and the one who is injured is still the Gu family. Young Master Song was going too far by saying forget it. Chapter 45. 45. The face slapping came too quickly, like a tornado. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 45. The face slapping came too quickly, like a tornado. Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. Song Yunxian's expression darkened. What do you want? Lu Miao took out her phone and dialed a number. Come in. 10 seconds later, a young lawyer in a suit walked in. Apparently, he had already arrived at the police station and was waiting outside for Lu Miao's call. He greeted everyone. Hello, everyone. I'm Miss Lu's lawyer. My surname is Lu. Miao's lips curled up as she looked at Song Yunxian. Young Master Song has always abided by the law and is very righteous. Everything is naturally done according to the legal procedures. This is my lawyer. We will sue young Master Song for picking a fight and causing serious injury. Her words directly returned the threat that Song Yunxian had just made to them. If he wanted to destroy them, then she would play with him until the end. Are you sure you want to do this? Song Yunxian's voice was cold, and his face was no longer as elegant and calm as before. His entire body was emitting a threatening aura. Even the air in the entire office began to become oppressive. Officer Zhang held his breath and didn't dare to make a sound, afraid that he would be the sacrificial lamb. As for Song Hao, he didn't dare to even fart since it was he who caused the trouble in the first place. On the other hand, Lu Miao, who was at the center of the storm, was calm. She did not care about Song Yunxian at all and nodded without hesitation. I'm sure. Song Yunxian put on a fake smile and said, Mrs. Gu is really brave and resourceful. From the moment they entered the police station, Lu Miao had been plotting against them. She deliberately used the excuse of scolding Song Hao to get him to settle the score with Gu Jinsi. Then, she did everything quietly under his nose and waited for the right time for him to check on Gu Jinsi's injuries. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Gu Jinsi's elbow joint was dislocated. If he didn't want to take the blame, he had to let Song Hao take the blame. The entire scheme was intertwined and interlocked. But she managed to turn the tables around and come out on top. Most importantly, she precisely calculated every one of his reactions. She was daring and meticulous, intelligent and brave. He had never had any contact with Lu Miao before. To be able to calculate so much when the two of them did not know each other at all, this little girl's ability to calculate people's hearts was really terrifying. Previously, the Gu family was cheated by the Lu family and was forced to marry her. All the rich and famous people who knew about it felt that she was not presentable and were waiting to see the Gu family make a fool of themselves. But now, it seemed that they were all wrong. Her courage and demeanor cannot be compared to those socialites who only know how to spend money and have fun. This countryside daughter who was abandoned by the Lu family is definitely not simple. Young Master Song, you flatter me. Lu Miao raised an eyebrow. The forensic doctor from the police station quickly rushed over and examined their injuries. Song Hao only suffered some superficial injuries on his face. Other than that, there were no other injuries. It was identified as a light injury. However, Gu Jinsi's elbow joint was dislocated and he screamed in pain at the slightest touch. The forensic doctor suggested that he had a level 3 disability, with serious injuries, and advised him to go to the hospital as soon as possible. The lawyer quickly prepared and drafted an appeal letter. Everything showed that Lu Miao was determined to appeal and had no intention of settling the matter privately. At this point, it was meaningless for Song Yunxian to say anything else. Instead, it would make people feel that he was showing weakness. This was something he would never allow. He looked at Lu Miao with a deep gaze. In that case, Mrs. Gu, we'll see you in court. After saying that, he glanced at his good-for-nothing younger brother with a sharp gaze and turned around to walk out. No matter how stupid Song Hao was, he knew that he had caused trouble this time. At this moment, how could he dare to say anything else? He hurriedly followed behind dejectedly. However, before he could walk out of the office. Wait a minute. Lu Miao called out to him. Song Yunxian raised an eyebrow, thinking that this little girl was really going to go to court, but he didn't expect her to soften so quickly. After all, although the Song and Gu families were not on good terms, they still maintained a certain level of harmony. If they really went to court over this matter, it would mean that the two families would completely break off ties. Therefore, it seemed that she had calculated that he would compromise and back down, but she didn't expect him to agree and just turn and leave, so she had to stop him. It seemed that he had thought too highly of her previously. From now on, the initiative was in his hands. He looked at Lu Miao with a half-dot smile and asked, "Is there anything else, Mrs. Gill?" Lu Miao raised her chin and nodded at Song Hao. Young Master Song has injured Jinsi so badly. I'm afraid he can't leave today. The lavier at the side immediately said to Officer Zhang, as the victim, we have sufficient evidence of the other party's crime and will immediately file an appeal to the court. In order to prevent the criminal from escaping, we request that Song Hao be arrested on the spot. The slap came too quickly, like a tornado. The smile on Song Yunxian's lips instantly froze. This girl was playing with him on purpose. She returned everything he had said and done to him. If he said no, he would be slapping himself in the face. This was the first time he felt so aggrieved. He couldn't scold her even if he wanted to. He could only grit his teeth and squeeze out a word, okay. Song Hao was completely terrified. He quickly grabbed Song Yunxian's arm and said in a panic, "Brother, I don't want to stay in the detention center. I don't want to go to jail. Don't leave me here. I didn't break Gu Jinxi's arm. It was all made up by that B*TCH Lu Miao. The forensic doctor must have colluded with them." "Shut up," Song Yunxian said angrily. Song Yunxian was angry. This disgraceful thing not only made him lose face but also caused him to suffer such humiliation today, being pinned down and rubbed by a little girl. He shook off his good-for-nothing brother with force, turned around, and walked out without looking back. Song Hao had completely collapsed, turned around, and rushed toward Lu Miao in anger. "You little bitch, how dare you frame me like this? Be careful, second sister. In law." Gu Qinshi rushed to stop him, but suddenly saw Lu Miao lift her leg, and then Song Hao fell to the ground with a plop. She couldn't help but exclaim in her heart, "What kind of a goddess is second sister? In law." She was good at racing, and her martial arts skill was also so good. Lu Miao turned to the lawyer and said, "Add one more charge, malicious verbal abuse." The lawyer immediately turned on his laptop to revise the charges on the appeal. Officer Zhang, who was at the side, was completely impressed by her. She dared to dig a pit for the Song family so blatantly and even made young Master Song admit to it on the spot. She is definitely the first person in history to do so. It seems that the young master of the Song family is really going to spend some time in detention this time. After leaving the police station, Lu Miao hailed a taxi by the roadside. When the two of them got into the car, she raised her hand to grab Gu Jinxi's elbow and exerted a little force. Gu Jinxi felt his elbow go numb, and his dislocated elbow instantly returned to its original position. He moved his arm and asked Lu Miao excitedly, "Second sister. In law, how was my cooperation just now?" Chapter 46. 46. It looks very strange. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 46. It looks very strange. Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. Previously, when he dislocated his elbow at the police station, it did not hurt at all. It was just a pretense to cooperate with Lu Miao to trick the two bastards from the Song family. Lu Miao hummed casually. Gu Jinxi automatically turned her "yes" into a compliment for him and chuckled. "Second sister. In law, you're so good at fighting and racing. Can you teach? I haven't seen that yet." He had returned to challenge Q. He would not be satisfied if he did not see her. Lu Miao. Why was he constantly thinking about challenging Q? She raised her hand and touched her nose. "Study hard. When you return to school, come and find me whenever you're the top 3 in class." "All right." Gu Jinxi nodded hurriedly. As long as second sister. In law was willing to teach him, he would do anything. She thought about it and said pitifully, "Second sister. In law, what if mom sends me back?" Lu Miao glanced at him. "You knew you would be sent back, but you still fought with others." Gu Jinxi said softly, "Who asked him to scold second brother and you?" It didn't matter if he scolded him, but she couldn't scold his family. Lu Miao's fingertips moved. She did not expect Gu Jinxi to do this to protect her. He's the one who's picking a fight. You're just passively protecting yourself. Gu Jinxi immediately understood. He, I understand. Thank you, second sister. In law. Previously, when Shen Qinghe had asked him to call her second sister in law, he had felt ashamed. Now, he had automatically become a little fan and called her that without blushing. As the two of them were talking, the phone in Gu Jinxi's pocket rang. He took out his phone and answered the call. Jinxi, I'm Siyu. I heard from Xingyu that you've returned to the country. Are you free tomorrow? Let's have a meal together. On the other end of the phone, Lu Siyu smiled confidently and invited him. She was about the same age as Gu Jinxi and Gu Xingyu. In the past, when she went to the Gu family, she often met them and their relationship was quite good. After Gu Jinxi heard this, he said straightforwardly, I don't have time. Then, he hung up the phone and turned around to Lu Miao, patting her chest and promising, second sister in law, don't worry. I will definitely not go see Lu Siyu. Gu Xingyu, that idiot, is blind. I'll always only acknowledge you as my second sister in law. He had always felt that Lu Siyu was hypocritical, but because of her engagement with his second brother, he had been too lazy to bother with her. He really didn't know which eye of Gu Xingyu was the problem. Lu Miao's lips twitched, but she didn't say anything. She and Gu Shiyan were originally just in a business partnership, and leaving was a matter of time. However, she narrowed her eyes and saw the increasingly thick gray mist on Gu Jinxi's body. It seemed to be getting stronger and stronger. It seemed that she had to solve the problem on his body first. When they returned to the Gu residence, Gu Xingyu was so angry that smoke was coming out of her nostrils when she saw the two of them coming back together. She gritted her teeth and said, Gu Jinxi. You, shut up. Shen Qinghe said unhappily. When she saw the wound on Gu Jinxi's face, she instantly frowned. What happened to the wound on your face? When Gu Jinxi heard her questioning words, a fit of inexplicable anger instantly rose in his heart. They were always like this. Every time they encountered something, they would never think for him from his point of view. They only knew how to question him and scold him. The anger in Gu Jinxi's heart almost spewed out uncontrollably. Lu Miao took the initiative to say, the young master of the Song family, Song Hao, deliberately provoked Jinxi. Jinxi had no choice but to fight him. Shen Qinghe frowned even more and said angrily to Gu Jinxi. What's wrong with you? If he provoked you, don't you know how to fight back? Although he was scolding him, Gu Jinxi's anger was miraculously extinguished in an instant. Was his mother instigating him to fight? He raised his hand to cover his mouth and coughed twice. I hit him. His face is swollen like a pig's head. Shen Qinghe nodded in satisfaction. That's more like it. She thought of something and looked at him in disdain. But, aren't you too weak? You actually got injured in the face when fighting with Song Hao, that skinny chicken. Do you want me to sign you up for a taekwondo class now to practice properly so that you won't be injured and embarrassed the next time you go out? Gu Jinxi. So when he was beaten, his mother only cared about him losing face. This was really his mother. Thinking of his second sister in law's outstanding skills, he was even more determined to learn from Lu Miao. However, even though he was despised, Gu Jinxi was in a good mood. His mother seemed to be different from what he had thought. She did not only scold him. After dinner, Lu Miao went back to her room to get something. Then, she went to the third floor to look for Gu Jinxi. His room was as flamboyant and willful as he was. A model the size of a real car was at the northernmost corner of the room. On the east wall, there was an entire shelf with all kinds of racing models and mannequins. Other than that, on the desk, on the windowsill, and everywhere else, even the bed was in the shape of a racing car. Lu Miao walked around the room, carefully looking at every corner. Finally, his gaze fell on a pile of boxes of various sizes in the corner of the room. What are these? Gu Jinxi raised his hand and scratched his head. They're all racing car models and figurines that my old friends gave me. I haven't had the time to open them yet. If second sister in law likes it, I'll get the servants to send it all down for you later. Lu Miao shook her head. No need. Open them all and let me take a look. Oh. Gu Jinsi had unconditional trust in her now. He did not ask why and immediately nodded obediently. He went to the side and took a pair of scissors. Together with Lu Miao, they opened all the boxes on the ground. Soon, a pile of models and figurines were placed on the ground. Lu Miao picked out a humanoid figurine from the pile of items. The figurine was placed in a transparent cover. It was different from other ordinary anime figurines. This figurine was probably customized according to Gu Jinsi's appearance. Whether it was the texture of the skin or the facial features, they were all very realistic. Especially the pair of big eyes on the face. They moved agilely along with her hand movements. The entire human puppet looked vivid, like a miniature version of Gu Jinsi. However, no matter which direction she moved her hand in, the puppet's eyes seemed to follow her. Coupled with the half-dot smile on its face, it looked very strange. Gu Jinsi looked curiously at the figurine in Lu Miao's hand. For some reason, he suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of frustration. His head was also dizzy, making him unable to help but want to flare up. He took a deep breath and tried to suppress his irritation. Do you like this kind of doll? Lu Miao didn't answer. She just looked up at him. Do you know who sent this? Gu Jinsi thought hard for a long time and shook his head. Everyone knows that I like these things, so many people usually give them to me for no reason. I can't remember who gave them to me. Second sister. In law, is there a problem? Chapter 47. 47, Whipping Her Corpse 100 Times. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 47. Whipping Her Corpse 100 Times. Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. It's okay, giving gifts is a matter of reciprocity. You have a bad memory, so it's better to receive less from others in the future, said Lu Miao as she turned the doll in her hand. The doll's smile seemed to grow even wider, becoming more eerie. Lu Miao turned the doll's face towards the other side without making a sound. Gu Jinsi smiled and nodded without noticing. I understand, second sister. Law. Lu Miao reached into her pocket and pulled out a white jade buckle tied with a red string, handing it to him. This is for protection and should be worn close to your body. Gu Jinsi took it and examined the simple jade buckle. It was engraved with intricate patterns and strange characters, giving it an antique and mysterious look. As soon as he held the jade buckle, he felt a cool breath flowing into his palm, instantly clearing his hazy mind and dispersing his pent-up frustration and anger. It was as if he had just shed a heavy burden. After carefully feeling it for a moment, he found the jade buckle to be cool and comfortable to hold. He asked Lu Miao in surprise, second sister. Law, where did you buy this treasure? I bought it online, Lu Miao said casually. Can you send me a link? I want to buy a few more. Gu Jinsi said happily. He didn't tell anyone that for the past few months, he had been plagued by a strange restlessness that left him feeling constantly irritable and hot-headed. Even when he didn't want to argue with people like Shen Qinghe and the others, he found himself unable to control his temper. This jade buckle was really too magical. The corner of Lu Miao's lips twitched. There's no need. That online shop has already closed down. One is enough. The material of the buckle was top-grade Yangji jade, and the quiet mind and peace symbols carved around it were something she had spent a lot of effort to make by hand. It was worth far more than any amount of money. Oh, I'll listen to second sister. Law. Gu Jinsi nodded regretfully. He opened the red rope and tied it around his neck. The jade buckle hung down and landed on her chest, feeling a chill. He raised his hand happily and touched it. Since giving gifts is a matter of reciprocity, second sister. Law, what do you like? I'll give it to you. Lu Miao waved the figurine in her hand. This is good. As the two of them were talking, the door was suddenly opened from the outside. Gu Xingyu rushed in aggressively. Seeing the doll in Lu Miao's hand, he stepped forward and snatched it away from her. He sneered, "Heh, you still dare to say that you're not after our Gu family's money." Enchanted dolls were custom-made by the internationally renowned puppet master Marina. Each doll took at least 2 months to make and was worth more than 1,000,000 yuan. This doll was a limited edition and would sell for at least 2,000,000 yuan. If you didn't plan to swindle Jinxi's things and sell them for money from the start and did some research beforehand, how could you have picked this one accurately? Jinxi was deceived by your appearance, but I won't. With me around, don't even think about cheating him of anything or taking a single cent. When she saw Lu Miao go upstairs to look for Gu Jinxi, she felt that this woman must have a conspiracy. As expected, she guessed correctly. Gu Jinxi frowned. What nonsense are you talking about? Give me back my things. You just want to take it back and give it to her, forget it. Wake up, Gu Jinxi, and look carefully. Lu Miao is a greedy person who only cares about money and is never satisfied. Whatever she does, it's just to cheat money from you, Gu Xingyu roared angrily. Gu Jinxi's expression turned ugly. Gu Xingyu, try scolding second sister. Law again. Don't blame me for falling out with you. When Gu Xingyu heard how Gu Jinxi was so protective of Lu Miao, she hated Lu Miao even more. Just yesterday, he still referred to her as second sister. Law, but now he was willing to break ties with her own sibling just to protect Lu Miao. What would happen in the future? At this moment, she only wished that she could immediately find something to use against Lu Miao and whip her 100 times in front of her mother and the others. Gu Jinxi, we're twins, biological siblings. Now, you actually want to fall out with me in order to protect this villain. Gu Jinxi said rudely, if you're blind and still slandering second sister. Law, don't blame me. Give me the doll. As he spoke, he reached out to snatch the doll from her hand. His second sister. Law had given him such a precious treasure. He would not object even if she wanted to empty his room, let alone a doll. Gu Xingyu immediately stepped back, holding the doll behind her. She then turned and ran out of the room. When she ran out of the door, she did not forget to turn her head and grit her teeth at Lu Miao. Just you wait. Lu Miao could not help but feel a headache. She had just found the source of the problem with Gu Jinxi, but before she could solve it, Gu Xingyu took it away again. Gu Jinxi was already completely speechless at Gu Xingyu's brainlessness. He turned around and said awkwardly to Lu Miao, I'm sorry, second sister. Law. When we were young, other than Xingyu, all the boys in our family were boys. There was no one to accompany her. Lu Xiyu often came over. It was rare for her to have a little friend to play with her. Therefore, she had always relied on and trusted Lu Xiyu. One day, she will see everything clearly. Don't be angry. I'm not angry. Lu Miao shook her head. If she really wanted to bicker with Gu Xingyu, she would have lost her life long ago. If you like that doll, I'll get someone to contact Marina immediately and customize one for you. Gu Jinxi said. No need. You should rest early. Lu Miao waved her hand, turned around, and went downstairs. That thing is called puppet, which is a technique in the Lu Ban's book. It can be controlled and used to control others. The person behind the scenes cultivates the doll into a puppet, and then uses the puppet to manipulate and influence others. Different people are affected in different ways. Gu Jinxi's personality was rebellious, to begin with. He refused to be disciplined. Under the influence of the puppet, the evil side of his heart and all the negative emotions were magnified infinitely. Therefore, he became more and more rebellious, and his mood became more and more irritable. He went racing as if he didn't care about his life. According to the way he played back then, it was only a matter of time before he lost his life. Shen Qinghe had no choice but to let Gu Shiyan send him to a closed training camp abroad. Now that the item was in Gu Xinyu's hands, she hated him so much that she would never give her a chance to get it. Fortunately, that thing was not specifically targeted at Gu Xinyu. Although she would be affected a little, it should not be that serious. As long as she did not have any bad intentions, she would be fine. Back in her room, Lu Miao had just logged into the forum when her self-made defense system rang with an alarm. It indicated that someone was secretly tracking her IP. Lu Miao narrowed her eyes as she looked at the messages that flashed across the screen from time to time. Her fingers were typing on the keyboard quickly. The person's technique seemed very familiar. It seemed to be the same person she met when she was tracking the surveillance system last time. Chapter 48. 48, A Savior is Finally Here. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 48. A Savior is Finally Here. Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. The last time the two of them fought, there was no winner. She deliberately left a gap in the system. After the person chased after her through the gap, she immediately bit the other party and began to track him. It was rare to meet a worthy opponent. She also wanted to know who this person was and why he was chasing her. The two of them were fighting fiercely when the forum system suddenly detected them. It immediately activated the destruction program for both IDs. As long as it is within the forum itself is an invincible existence that ignores the rules. No matter how skilled you are, there's no use. Both sides immediately stopped their pursuit and exchange of blows. Only then did the destruction alarm was lifted. Although she had not been able to track him down just now, she had not come up empty-handed. She looked at the ID on the screen, Tom. With his ID, as long as he appeared, she would find him sooner or later. Just as the alarm was lifted, Lin Bufan sent a message. Boss, are you free tomorrow night? What is it? Do you still remember the one in the capital? That person personally called out and said that he wanted to see you. Lu Miao naturally remembered such a big shot. Lin Bufan's publicity work was quite in place, and various prestigious and influential figures came knocking at the door. When this big shot found her through Lin Bufan, she was a bit surprised. She could refuse to see him. As long as she did not take the initiative to show up, no one would be able to find her. However, Lin Bufan might be in trouble. Do you need me to go to the capital? No, the person recently came south to inspect and is now in Luo City. There will be a banquet arranged to meet him after the meeting tomorrow afternoon. As a figure of this level, every move would attract countless speculations, both domestically and abroad, and there were even more people secretly watching. A private meeting would be more suspicious, so it was better to attend a public occasion like this. Lu Miao tapped her fingertips on the table. Time and place. On the other side of the forum, Lin Bufan was instantly excited. Oh my God, after so long, could he finally see the big boss in person? His typing hands trembled. Tomorrow at 7 p.m., Hilton Hotel. Boss, tell me the location and I'll pick you up in advance. No need. I still have classes tomorrow. I'll go by myself after school in the afternoon. Classes. After school. Lin Bufan, who was on the other side of the forum, was dumbfounded. Could it be that the big boss was a student? No, this was impossible. There were several universities in Luo City. The big shot must be a university professor. Just as he was about to send a message to ask which school it was, he realized that Lu Miao had already gone offline. Lin Bufan became even more convinced that it was the lifestyle habits of the elderly. After Lu Miao turned off her computer, she thought for a while and took out her phone to dial a number. The call was quickly picked up. The Song family, before she could finish. Are you hurt? Gu Shiyan's voice came from the receiver. Someone had already told him about what happened at the police station. No, I haven't. Lu Miao replied. I'm sorry, I've been too busy recently. I should have gone back in the afternoon. You don't have to care about the Song family. You don't have to care about anyone in Luo City. Gu Shiyan's eyes darkened. It was because he had been busy with the overseas market all these years and was too lazy to touch the Song family that he gave Song Yunxian the illusion that he was qualified to be his opponent. Now, he actually dared to attack his people. Yes. Lu Miao responded. She knew what was going on with the Song family. She was not afraid that Gu Shiyan would be angry about this. She just felt that she should inform him. In the future, if you encounter such a thing, you can call me directly. Gu Shiyan said. These small fries were not worth her trouble. Got it. Lu Miao thought about it. Where are you now? M Nation. When are you coming home? The corners of Gu Shiyan's lips curled up slightly. You want me to go back quickly? No, Auntie Shen mentioned it during dinner, so I asked. Lu Miao said casually. She was, of course, trying to confirm whether Gu Shiyan would appear at the dinner tomorrow. Given his status, he was sure to receive an invitation. He was in M country and it would be best if he didn't come back to attend. There were some things that she did not want to expose. Just as she was about to hang up the phone. Meow meow, you can trust me more. On the other end of the phone, Gu Shijian's voice was low and magnetic. This was the first time he had called her that. Perhaps it was because of the electric current, but the words that came out of his mouth had a hint of gentleness. Lu Miao paused. I know. She did not say yes or no. Gu Shiyan did not force her. He smiled and said, rest early. He hung up the phone and looked up at the computer screen. The employees were working overtime to have a video conference with him. Continue. The employees on the other side of the screen looked at his cold face and listened to his harsh tone. Tears welled up in their eyes. F***ck, this change in attitude was too fast. He was clearly full of warmth just a moment ago. Why did he become so cold after hanging up the phone? However, this was the first time Big Boss had interrupted a meeting to answer a phone call because of a personal matter. Legend had it that Boss and Lu Miao were forced to get engaged because of their family's arrangement. There was no love between the two of them. But now, it seemed that this was not the case. So, was there really someone who could control Big Boss? Was their savior finally coming? That was great. The next afternoon after school, Lu Miao called Shen Qinghe and said that she had something to do that night and would be back late. She told them not to wait for her for dinner. Shen Qinghe only asked if she wanted to send someone to pick her up when she came back. After all, it wasn't safe for a girl to be out at night. Before Lu Miao could answer, Gu Jinxi's voice came from the other end of the phone. Second sister. Law, when are you coming back? I'll go pick you up. There is a full set of grade 5 and grade 3 exercises on the desk in my room. Your homework today is 1 unit for each subject. I will go back and check it tonight. 1 unit for each subject. Second sister. Law, this is too much. Gu Jinxi haggled bitterly. Lu Miao raised her eyebrows. 2 units. 1 unit, not much at all. Thus, Shen Qinghe saw her youngest son, who had always hated studying and doing questions, run upstairs to study and do the questions like a tornado. After hanging up, Lu Miao took a taxi to the Hilton Hotel. When they arrived at the hotel entrance, they saw Lin Bufan dressed in a formal suit. His hair was combed meticulously. He was standing by the door and looking out from time to time. It was completely different from his usual unrestrained manner. Lu Miao stepped forward and was about to speak when Lin Bufan walked past her and continued to look at the intersection. Chapter 49. 49, The Mountain God's Fury. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 49. The Mountain God's Fury. Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. Lu Miao stepped forward and was about to speak when Lin Bufan walked past her and continued to look at the intersection. He kept muttering softly, "I'm not nervous, I'm not nervous." Lu Miao. Is she a tiger that could eat him up? She reached out and patted his arm. Lin Bufan turned to look at her and said directly, "I don't lack anything. I won't buy anything." After saying that, he even took 2 steps to the side and distanced himself from her. Lu Miao was speechless. Was he treating her like a street vendor? Lin Bufan. When Lin Bufan heard his name, he turned to look at her in surprise. "How do you know my name? Little girl, do you realize it's illegal to follow and investigate people? It's not worth it for the sake of selling something." As he said that, he took out his wallet and took out 100 yuan, and stuffed it into Lu Miao's hands. All right, just take it that I've bought it. Go home and study hard. What if he accidentally missed the big boss?" Lu Miao looked at the 100 yuan in her hand and said helplessly, "Didn't you ask me to come here? Don't joke around. How could I ask you out?" Halfway through his words, Lin Bufan finally reacted. He looked at Lu Miao and blinked, then blinked again. F***ck, it can't be, right? He only had one appointment today. He stuttered and looked at Lu Miao in disbelief. Big shot. Lu Miao nodded. "Okay, let's go. I still have to go home and do my homework later." Lin Bufan's legs went soft and he almost knelt down. She was really a big shot. But, however, shouldn't a big shot have white hair and an immortal aura, looking like an otherworldly expert? The little girl in front of him looked to be in her teens at most. She had a ponytail at the back of her head and there was no makeup on her face. She was clean and refreshing. She was wearing his school uniform and carrying a school bag on his back. This was still a middle school student, right? High school year 3. After Lu Miao finished speaking, she turned around and walked into the hotel. Lin Bufan finally realized that he was too shocked and uttered his thoughts out. He quickly covered her mouth and followed behind. The two of them took the elevator to the banquet hall on the top floor of the hotel under the guidance of the waiter. It was not yet time for the banquet to begin, but the banquet hall was already filled with people coming and going, toasting each other. It was not strange for people from both political and business circles to attend such a banquet. What was strange was that there were actually quite a number of socialites who were dressed up gorgeously. Lin Bufan explained in a low voice as if he had guessed her thoughts. "It is said that the big shot's son will also come today. The young master is their target today. After all, with that person's identity, if the young master took a fancy to the daughter of any family, it would mean that the family would directly ascend in the future." Lu Miao was not surprised. A staff member came forward and confirmed their identities before bringing them straight to a spacious private room at the back of the banquet hall. A moment later, the cabinet door opened and a few security guards in black suits walked out. After carefully checking their belongings and confirming that there were no dangerous weapons and that there were only the two of them in the private room, someone went through the cabinet door to inform them. Next, an elegant and aristocratic young man came out, supporting the well-known figure that could be seen on TV news every day. Both of them were surprised to see the young girl, Lu Miao, next to Lin Bufan. Hasn't the master already arrived? Why did Lin bring a little girl here? Lin Bufan was so nervous that he almost forgot to breathe. The big shot smiled and looked at Lu Miao. Who is this young friend? Lin Bufan quickly said, Fu. He stuttered for a long time, not knowing how to call him. Just call me uncle. How could Lin Bufan dare? He thought for a long time, Master Fu, this is Master Mountain River. Master Fu was very knowledgeable. Although he was surprised, he did not question it. He smiled and reached out his hand to greet Lu Miao. Young friend, you're really young and promising. What's your name? Where is your home? Lu Miao reached out to shake his hand. She withdrew her hand and replied calmly, Lu Miao, my home is in Luo City. Lin Bufan and Lu Miao. Why did this name sound so familiar? Before he could figure out what was familiar, Master Fu smiled and invited them to sit down. Lin Bufan was flattered and immediately threw the doubt in his heart to the back of his head. After some small talk, Fu Jingshan, who had been silent all this while, looked at Lu Miao doubtfully and said, My father hasn't been feeling well recently. He's always woken up by nightmares at night. Every time he went out, he would always encounter all kinds of accidents. The safety talisman that he had asked someone to buy last time was effective for the first few days, but it was useless after that. Master Lu, can you help me take a look at the problem in person? His words were naturally subtle. Those so-called accidents were more and more thrilling and dangerous. The few famous people in the capital had already helped to take a look, but they could not find the problem and no matter what. Only one of his subordinates had heard of the Lin family's situation and bought a talisman from Lin Bufan, which seemed to have some effect. They were desperate and had come here for help. However, looking at Lu Miao's elementary school appearance, he suspected that there was some powerful person behind her who was unwilling to step forward, so he asked her to step forward on her behalf. Lu Miao looked at Master Fu. Have you recently been to any mountains and participated in any groundbreaking ceremonies? After Fu Jingshan heard her question, he could not help but be shocked. His suspicion of her instantly lessened by more than half. Master Fu's expression also became solemn. After thinking for a while, he replied cautiously, there is such a ritual. His answer was vague, but Lu Miao immediately understood. Every country had some secret bases that could not be exposed. For this big shot to personally attend, it must be an important weapon of the country. She did not ask further. That place touched the mountain god. At that time, your luck was the strongest, so the mountain god took all his anger out on you. Mountain god. Fu Jingshan frowned and asked in disbelief. Lu Miao nodded. Most of these gods relied on the power of people's faith. In this day and age, most people no longer had faith, and the number of spiritual monsters had declined. Although many of them had disappeared, they were not completely extinct. Master Fu slowly said, how can we resolve this? Do we need to move to another place to start construction? The location of this national treasure was extremely rigorous. It had been inspected countless times. In order to prevent it from being discovered by mistake or detected by foreign radars, various anti-detection measures would be taken in advance. The price was extremely high, and it was impossible to give up halfway and change places. Chapter 50. 50. You disgraced me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 50. You disgraced me. Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. Lu Miao shook her head. No need. She reached out and tapped on the silver bracelet on her wrist twice. The slender bracelet instantly transformed into a rectangular box like a small transformer. She took out 2 pieces of talisman paper and took out a pen and ink from her bag. She drew 2 talismans on the spot, folded them, and pushed one of them in front of Master Fu. Take this with you. You need to go back personally to apologize to the mountain god. Then, she tapped on another talisman. Get someone to build a mountain god temple and place this in the middle. After it is repaired, worship it regularly. Fu Jingshan asked sincerely, Master, is there anything else I should take note? Start work immediately, the sooner the better. Lu Miao said. Fu Jingshan nodded. After greeting them, he immediately took out his phone and went to the other room to make a call to arrange for people to start work. Master Fu was very interested in Lu Miao's bracelet, which had been restored to its original state. Little friend, where did you get this thing? Lu Miao replied, a little invention of mine. Master Fu's eyes lit up. Are you interested in selling your invention to us? The design of this little thing was very wonderful. It could save one's life at certain critical moments. If Master Fu needs it, I can provide it to you for free. Lu Miao said directly. No one knew the value of this thing better than her. Being able to protect Master Fu was also considered her contribution to this country. Master Fu smiled and waved his hand. I can't take advantage of this. I'll get Jingshan to talk to you later. Does little friend have any other inventions? There are some small things in the field of science and technology. Hearing this answer, Master Fu couldn't help but be even more interested. After the two of them talked for a while, Master Fu's excited face turned red. Young friend, you have such academic achievements at such a young age. It's really impressive. The country needs talents like you. The slogan of building a strong technological country has been shouted for many years, but the country's citizens started relatively late in the field of technology, especially in the areas of chips, semiconductors, and information technology, which are far behind developed countries. Breaking through was extremely difficult, and it would take many years to catch up to those countries in Europe and America. When he heard about the inventions and innovations of Lu Miao in the field of technology, which are urgently needed in the country today, how could he not be excited? Lin Bufan almost knelt down and kowtowed to Lu Miao. The big boss is indeed a big boss, easily pulling out a field that is at the level of super big bosses. He was really lucky. He actually hugged such a powerful thigh. On the other side, Master Fu was very interested in these small inventions and suggested that the researchers in the field of science and technology meet her to learn more about them. The two of them chatted for nearly half an hour. The old and the young were like friends who had forgotten their age. It was not until the call from the capital that Master Fu stood up and bid farewell to Lu Miao. Fu Jingshan personally sent Lu Miao and Lin Bufan out. As a result, Lin Bufan received a call from his father as soon as he left the house. Helpless, he could only greet them and run to the side to answer the phone. Fu Jingshan smiled and made a gentlemanly gesture to invite Lu Miao in. As soon as the two of them entered the banquet hall, Lu Miao saw a familiar figure. Initially, she had no interest in such banquets, had no intention of attending, and was about to leave. However, Lu Siyu's sharp eyes had already seen her and she said first, "Meow meow. Why are you here?" Back then, the Lu family had relied on the Gu family to make a fortune. Now that they had almost fallen out with the Gu family because of Gu Shiyan, it was obviously impossible for them to rely on the Gu family in the future. Moreover, during this period of time, because Gu Shiyan had withdrawn all the support projects for the Lu family, the Lu Corporation had been constantly losing money. Losing money. This was only the termination of the cooperation. If Gu Shiyan wanted to target them one day, the Lu Corporation would definitely go bankrupt. At this moment, the Lu family urgently needed to find someone who could help the Lu Corporation develop and help them fight against the Gu family. Lu Qin and Qin Shuang were in a terrible state because of this. They had been wandering among the various noble families in Luo City. However, no one was willing to help them go against Gu Shiyan. At this moment, young Master Fu's appearance was undoubtedly the best candidate for them. How could the two of them let go of such a good opportunity? Lu Miao was not surprised at all that they would bring Lu Siyu here. Looking at how elegant and delicately made up Lu Siyu was in her dress, it was clear what her goal was for the night. Lu Miao couldn't be bothered to deal with her and turned to Fu Jingshan, "No need to see me off, I need to go home and do my homework." But Lu Siyu was persistent and shameless, approaching them and curiously eyeing Fu Jingshan before expressing concern. "Meow meow, I heard that Brother Shiyan is still in M country, did you come here with the person next to you? Does it have anything to do with you?" Lu Miao said coldly. Lu Siyu's eyes instantly reddened. She said aggrievedly, "That's not what I meant. You've always been in the countryside and don't know anything about attending banquets. Different banquets had different rules. If you want to attend such a banquet, you can tell Mom, Dad, and me and ask them to bring us along. But I'm afraid it's not appropriate for you to come with other men. Brother Shuryen and Auntie Shen would be unhappy if they knew. These words sounded like they were for her sake, but in fact, every word was a ruthless stomp on her. She emphasized that she was a country bumpkin from the countryside who knew nothing. She told the person next to her that she already had a husband, yet she still shamelessly seduced him. Luckily, the person beside her was Fu Jingchen, who knew everything. If it were someone else who was clueless, they would have distanced themselves from her and have no good impression of her after hearing her words. After explaining herself, Lu Xiu turned to Fu Jingchen and apologized, "I'm really sorry for my sister's ignorance. If we have caused any misunderstanding, please forgive us." Fu Jingchen, who was of high status, had seen all kinds of people. Lu Xiu's intentions were apparent to him. He smiled and replied, "I don't mind." Lu Xiu was surprised by his reaction, but she tried to play it cool and said, "That's good." When she saw her father and mother approaching, she urged Lu Miao to go with her. "Miao Miao, our parents are here, and they miss you a lot. Why don't you come with me?" "Get lost," Lu Miao retorted. She didn't feel like putting on a show of sisterly affection here. She turned to leave but was stopped by Qin Shuang, who was furious. Lu Qin and Qin Shuang just happened to come over. Qin Shuang immediately said angrily, "You heartless dog. Your sister was thinking of you out of kindness. What kind of attitude is this? Also, who asked you to come here in your school uniform to embarrass yourself? Do you think this is a market? Anyone could come. You even went around hooking up with wild men. Isn't it enough for you to embarrass yourself? You're going to disgrace the entire Lu family."